What if I told you one of the strangest sci-fi films ever made nearly destroyed its own director? You might have seen the sleek modern version, but for many of us, the 1984 Dune still hits differently. It feels like a fever dream, a sacred text wrapped in fog, a movie that doesn't explain itself. It dares you to keep up. And behind that hypnotic atmosphere was chaos. This wasn't just a movie. It was a gamble that almost swallowed everyone involved. Let's rewind. A story Hollywood was afraid of. For over a decade, studios labeled Dune unfilmable. Too political, too spiritual, too weird. Major directors walked away. Then came David Lynch, fresh off surreal cult success and completely untested in epic sci-fi. He said yes, not because it was safe, because it was impossible. That single decision changed everything. The sandworms were real, sort of. Those legendary Arrakis sandworms? No CGI. They were massive practical machines, some over 40 feet long, powered by hydraulics and operated by teams of technicians pulling cables in perfect sync. Each worm had detailed teeth, moving segments, and real weight. Actors weren't pretending to feel small. They were small. That's why the creatures still feel terrifying today. They occupy real space. They cast real shadows. Your brain believes them. The cast was put through combat training. Before cameras rolled, the actors went through intense physical prep. Not casual choreography, real blade work, faction-specific fighting styles, military-style discipline. Kyle MacLachlan, in his very first film role, was pushed far past comfort. The exhaustion you see in Paul Atreides isn't acting. It's a body under pressure. Lynch believed pain creates truth, and it shows. Sting trained for months. For minutes of screen time, Sting spent months studying historical sword combat for a single duel as Phaedrotha. Not flashy Hollywood fighting. Precise. Aristocratic. Cold. His movements were designed to feel educated and sadistic. That's why the scene doesn't feel cinematic. It feels dangerous. The costumes were a world-building weapon. Designer Bob Ringwood didn't just make outfits. He built civilizations. Still suits were functional survival gear. Royal clothing used real metal and heavy embroidery. Guild navigator suits hid working mutation effects. Everything looked worn, ancient, used. Actors didn't wear costumes. They wore history. Legendary actors quietly rewrote their roles. Max von Sydow improvised much of his performance, creating moments that weren't in the script. Patrick Stewart reshaped Gurney Halleck into a warrior poet, insisting the character sing and carry emotional weight, not just weapons. These choices added humanity to a world drowning in prophecy. Lynch turned down Star Wars for this. Here's the wild part. Lynch was offered Return of the Jedi. He said no. Instead, he chose Dune, a collapsing project with no safety net. He also wrote a first-draft script over 300 pages long. That's a 6-hour movie. Studios panicked. Entire storylines were chopped. Characters merged. Philosophy compressed into voiceover. What you see on screen is a universe forced through a 2-hour funnel. That's why it feels dense and rushed and overwhelming. Because it is. The sound design was invented from scratch. Lynch treated sound like a character. Sandworms were created from layered animal calls and industrial noise. The Weirding Way mixed human voices with machinery. Even silence was engineered. The film doesn't just show Arrakis. It breathes it. Then came the breaking point. The studio demanded cuts, added narration, explained mysteries Lynch wanted to leave unanswered. When a longer TV version was released without his consent, Lynch removed his name entirely. He has refused every offer to create a director's cut. For him, Dune isn't a masterpiece to fix. It's a wound he chose to walk away from. Final thought. Dune, 1984, failed financially. Critics were brutal. But something strange happened afterward. It became a cult artifact, a flawed, ambitious monument to what happens when pure imagination collides with corporate reality. Some films are built to succeed. This one was built to endure. And sometimes that's more powerful